People say he's done something that goes beyond the pale. He will shake his head and give this answer without fail. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he says he tells no lies and that he never jokes. Confronting with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax. A modern Don Quixote, he hates the windmills, claiming to protect the birds and whales he says they kill. But don't believe that story, it's really just a shill. He just did not want to see them wild golfing on Scottish hills. A hoax, he said it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, changing a storm path with black marker strokes. Confronted with the truth, to say it's all a hoax. Casting mail-in ballots is something that he's done. Now he wants to ban them for each and every one. He claims it's for integrity in each election, but he won't believe the results unless it's him that's won. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, they'll fool you with distractions like real sugar in Cokes. Confronted with the truth, you'll say it's all a hoax. He promised to release all the Epstein files that caused all the MAGA base to react with smiles. But how long has he put it off? It sure has been a while, and now he's calling this a hoax, protecting pedophiles. A hoax, he says it's all a hoax. When at a press conference or with misspelled keystrokes, he'll keep on gaslighting up until he croaks. Confronted with the truth, he'll say it's all a hoax.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Goes through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hired his kids to run DC. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip.
This just in. A sudden spike in logic levels across the city. Citizens report seeing a man with glasses and a podcast mic. We go now live to Liberal Dan. Yo, who you gonna call when Nazi writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, cause you know we got a plan. The right wing talking shit, but he ain't about to quit. He'll take his proton pack and zap your logic cause it's whack. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall.
It's being reported that Liberal Dan is setting up what appears to be some sort of straw man containment field.
He's calling out your lies with his mic, he'll vaporize. Cross the streams in your dreams, bitch, you know that he's too wise. You're like Slimer talking crap, but you walked into his trap. Yo, it's more than entertainment, it's misinformation contained. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. The Statue of Liberty, the writing you can see. So bring the huddled masses, it's a war of the classes. While Trump may think he's Vigo, Dan can cut through that ego. He's got the facts to prove him wrong, got that logic like Egon. Your logic is a ghost, cause you know this chick is toast. When you follow EmptyGee, it's conspiracy, you'll see. There's no need to taser, he's got wit like Occam's razor. Liberal Dan cuts those lies with his Jewish face laser.
It's unbelievable. Liberal Dan just used a literal dog whistle to lure a large group of internet trolls into what is being called a self-collapsing rhetoric singularity. In all my years of reporting, I've never seen anything like this.
So don't call to be a heckler, you ain't no Judge Rexler. He'll bust you like scolary, cause your logic's looking hairy. Right-wing callers think they're cool, but they sounding just like Zool. You the dog, he the man, and yo, his name is Liberal Dan. So who you gonna call when the writing's on the wall? Call your man Liberal Dan, and the rhetoric will fall. Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan, Liberal Dan.
Proclaimed king, a groper in chief, stealing our country, a crooked orange thief. Faux patriots who are poorly educated, wearing red hats and also unvaccinated. Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk on the left, that's right. A failing media that's barely treading water. They're too inept to fight this new world order. Corporate pigs are at the trough, hear the squeals. The swine won't bite the hands that feeds them meals. But Liberal Dan will see us flow. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. A leftist voice on air, exposing MAGA treason, breaking through their lies with facts, logic, and reason. Unmasking hypocrisy, the truth will be our guide. Call out their lies, justice is on our side. Cause Liberal Dan will see us through. It's the best show that you're not listening to. So when you hear the call, animals unite. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, talk from the left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you live from New Orleans, Louisiana. We'll probably open up the phone lines for a little bit, I have some scheduled things I want to talk about, but otherwise, we'll take a phone call or two as we go on. Shouts out to Atrocious at Every Game, Orvilby, and Jolie, one half of the Mod Squad over on the Twitch chat. We also have Josh C's, Bill, also Jolie over here on YouTube. Molly, it's a joy to see you. It just scrolled past for me. Steve from across the pond. Who else has jumped in? Suzanne. Jeff from just north of Uranus. Of course, not the anus that had the ordinance that we talked about on the last show, but still, just north of Uranus. I would think the Uranus Chocolate Factory would want to actually have some fun with that story as well. Maybe not as much fun as I had with it, or maybe more fun. Who knows? But, who knows how much fun you could have in Uranus, right?
Oh, my.
Anyway, Jackie's here. Good to see you, Jackie. Chad, good to see you as well. I think I got everyone so far. So, again, thank you for joining the show. Appreciate it. Several things to talk about, and I want to normally talk about a big thing first. But I kind of want to record this so it's its own standalone thing and it doesn't get chopped up with the Opus clip thing. So we are going to be talking about Ammon Bundy. If you notice, as we were entering the show, we're talking about how the conservatives are kind of leaving Trump slowly, not fast enough, clearly. But we discussed the hypocrisy of conservatism and, the conservatives like Jenny Pirro, Kash Patel, Pam Bondi, Donald Trump, all saying things like you shouldn't be having a gun with you when you're protesting something. Meanwhile, when they are at the Bundy Ranch, you literally had conservative protesters trying to protect the right of Bundy's dad to freeload and not have to pay grazing fees for his cattle to graze on federal land. Because they want to freeload to help them profit for free or whatever. But God forbid somebody else gets some benefit from the government without having to pay. So the federal government came in and you literally had people with rifles trained on law enforcement, and that somehow was okay. That was magically fine. I mean, imagine had that happened, had Biden done something like that.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, that screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
I just fixed something that was wrong with the chat. I noticed that my chat was duplicated at this point, so now that's fixed as well. So anyway, the technical difficulties went away from last show, and I didn't make them invisible anyway. So whatever. But here's a paper or self-posted article that was written by Ammon Bundy called "The Stranger." Hey, Aaron, thank you for joining as well. Appreciate it. Good to see you. A Christian and constitutional case protecting those who come to America. This is literally written by Ammon Bundy. And I want to read the whole thing because, I'm shook. I'm literally shook. And maybe this is kind of the whole, I've seen some libertarian type folks actually making some common sense, making some, reasonable arguments during the Trump administration, basically fighting back against what this administration is doing from the right. And it's good to see people making right-wing conservative arguments against this administration. And here's one from Ammon Bundy. From its earliest beginnings, the United States has claimed to be a nation conceived in liberty. And look, this thing has footnotes. He's actually, showing his work too, which is impressive for somebody on the right? Maybe he's not poorly educated like the other folks that Donald Trump says that he loves, though. The promise was never meant to be limited by birthplace. Long before there was a United States, men and women crossed oceans seeking the same things that still move the human heart today: freedom, safety, opportunity, faith, and the hope of belonging. To call such people criminals for lacking official permission is to forget the moral law of God, the historical truth of our own founding, and the constitutional ideals that continue to define justice. Now, again, you should remain seated because some of I haven't read the whole thing, but I've seen some snippets from this, and you're not going to want to be standing up because you might pass out. So, section number 1 of Ammon Bundy's article that he wrote here, God's law and the unalienable right to migrate. Before there were nations, there was the divine command, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. Genesis 1:28. The right to move, to seek peace, and to provide one's family is not a privilege granted by people and government. It's part of the created order and a natural right of mankind. I mean, this is like leftist open border stuff, but coming from the right. Scripture teaches us that every person is created in the image of God, Genesis 1:26, 1:27. This guy, maybe he'd get along really well with John Fugelsang, because they would probably have a very interesting conversation like we had with John Fugelsang on the show. You could buy his book in the comment section. The link is in the comment section of the YouTube channel. Scripture teaches every person is created in the image of God. From that divine image flows the natural right to live and to seek a place where life can flourish. The earth is the Lord's and everything in it. Psalm 24:1. No human boundary can erase that truth. The biblical command is unambiguous. Love ye before the stranger, for ye were strangers in the land of Egypt. Likewise God instructs, and if a stranger sojourn with thee in your land, ye shall not vex him, but the stranger that dwelleth with you shall be into you as one born among you, and thou shalt love him as thyself. Leviticus 19:33-34. Jesus, I'm Jewish, so I can't speak to, many things that Jesus says, but I mean, he's Christian, and this is from his writing. So Jesus embodied that command. As an infant, he fled violence and became a refugee in Egypt, Matthew 2:13-15. Joseph and Mary's permission to flee Egypt came from an angel of God, not Caesar or Pharaoh. In his parables, Jesus erased tribal and national distinctions. The Samaritan, not the Levite or Jewish priest, was the true neighbor. To welcome the stranger is therefore not a political preference, but a Christian duty. In bold letters on Ammon Bundy's article, the moral law requires only one limit. No one may harm another's life, liberty, or property. Romans 13:9-10. Beyond that, movement and residence are matters of conscience and need, not sin or criminality. Number 2, Section 2, America's founders and the reality of unauthorized settlement. The settlers who became America's founders did not wait for permission. The Pilgrims who landed at Plymouth Rock in 1620, clearly there were people beforehand, had no royal license to settle where they did, and certainly none from the native nations whose territory they occupied. Little bit of going after the colonizers there, maybe. Although maybe he is suggesting that you have the right to colonize, I suppose. But thousands of other Europeans crossed the Atlantic on their own initiative, paying for passage, settling wherever they found opportunity. Religious refugees, Puritans, Quakers, Baptists, Huguenots, often left secretly because their faiths were banned. For them, illegal travel was the only path to liberty. One of the earliest and most poignant examples appears in Charles Carleton's Coffins, The Story of Liberty. In 1607, a congregation of English separatists sought to escape the king's persecution and sail for Holland. The men secretly boarded a vessel, planning for their wives and children to follow, but royal officers arrived before the women could embark. Hoping to trap the men, the officers seized the women and children, holding them as hostages to force the men to return. Coffin recounts that, seeing they could do no more, the magistrates at last let the poor women go. Let my women go. The families, once criminalized for trying to leave their native country, later became the Pilgrims who crossed the Atlantic. Their defiance of unjust authority planted one of the first seeds of American liberty. Even after the colonies formed, the British Crown's orders were routinely ignored. The proclamation of 1763 forbade settlement west of the Appalachians. Colonists went anyway. Those illegal settlers, and he put in quotes, became the revolutionaries who declared that liberty and the pursuit of happiness were rights given by God, not favors from a monarch. In short, the United States was built by people who migrated and settled, again in bold, without permission. The Constitution's protection of persons, not papers. This is Section 3 of his writing. When the Constitution was written, it contained no clause giving government authority to stop peaceful migration. The Naturalization Clause in Article 1 empowers Congress only to set rules for citizenship, not to close the nation's doors. The notion of federal, quote, sovereign, end quote, power to exclude foreigners arose much later through 19th century court decisions such as Changping versus the United States, an interpretation born of fear during the Chinese exclusion era, not of the founders' text. By contrast, the Constitution's express protections are universal. The Fifth Amendment forbids depriving any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. And I will editorialize here to say any person of life, not any citizen of life, liberty, or property. The 14th Amendment guarantees equal protection to all persons within U.S. jurisdictions. In Yickwo versus Hopkins, the Supreme Court confirmed that these words apply to all persons within the territorial jurisdiction without regard to differences of race, of color, or nationality. The law therefore recognizes what Christian faith already teaches: an individual's rights to identity do not depend on documentation. Section 4, learning from America's moral failures. Again, this is a conservative speaking about America's moral failures. History shows that when law forgets its purpose, to protect rather than to persecute, it becomes a weapon of injustice. The Chinese Exclusion Act of 1882 was the first federal statute to bar immigration on the basis of race or nationality. It arose not from war, but from domestic fear and resentment in the American West. Labor unions, blaming Chinese workers for low wages, demanded exclusion, and Congress complied. The law forbade nearly all immigration from China and denied Chinese residents the possibility of citizenship. It stood for more than 60 years. The same mindset, seeing people of a different background as outsiders unworthy of equal protection, reappeared repeatedly throughout American history. In the 1840s, Irish immigrants fleeing famine were branded as criminals and papists, attacked in the streets, and denied jobs under signs that read, "No Irish need apply." In the 1850s, the Know Nothing Party arose, calling for longer naturalization periods and seeking to bar Catholics from office, claiming their faith made them disloyal. At the same time, the Latter-day Saints, aka the Mormons, many being European immigrants, were driven from Missouri and Illinois by armed mobs and state militias under official decrees that branded them enemies. Governor Lilburn Boggs' 1838 extermination order made it lawful to kill them or drive them out of the state, an act of open state-sanctioned religious persecution. The survivors fled west and built new lives in the desert, proving again that liberty often survives only where permission is denied. Italian immigrants were often portrayed as dangerous, uneducated, and incapable of assimilation. Newspapers called them names. I'm not going to repeat. Employers refused to hire them. Politicians claimed they brought crime and disease. Even churches and charities sometimes turned them away, saying they were too foreign or too Catholic. Yet, like every persecuted group before them, the Italian immigrants answered hatred with hard work and perseverance. They built railroads, mined coal, framed barren land, and filled the ranks of the factories that powered America's growth. Their children fought in America's wars, prayed in her churches, and helped build the very cities that once despised them. Then came the Japanese-American internment during World War II. After Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor in 1941, fear and suspicion swept the country under Executive Order 9066. More than 120,000 people of Japanese ancestry, two-thirds of them U.S. citizens, were forced from their homes and confined in camps, surrounded by barbed wire. No charges, no trials, only ancestry was required for imprisonment. 4 decades later, Congress and the President of the United States formally apologized, recognizing the internment as a grave injustice born of wartime hysteria and a failure of political leadership, but the damage to families, property, and trust could never be fully undone. Each generation's unjust laws, thank you, Alyosha, for the bits, were framed as necessary for order, but time revealed their true nature. They were acts of fear disguised as law, whether against Catholics, Mormons, Irish, Asians, Italians, or Mexicans. The pattern is the same. 1. Identify a new group as the cause of society's troubles. 2. Write laws to restrict or punish them. 3. Call those laws protection. 4. Regret them later when history exposes their injustice. Calling peaceful migrants criminals for crossing from one human jurisdiction to another repeats this same moral failure, confusing regulation with righteousness and fear with justice. And here comes another bold segment. True crime is the deliberate injury of another's rights. Peaceful existence is not a crime. I mean, look, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm going to agree with many things that Ammon Bundy has to talk about, clearly, but peaceful existence is not a crime. I'll drink to that, even though this is just water. When the law punishes presence rather than harm, it ceases to serve justice and instead becomes an offender to it. Part 5. The true solution. Punish harm, protect liberty. The moral and constitutional solution to the immigration question is not greater punishment for presence, but equal punishment for harm. Whether a man was born in Texas or across the border, his moral standing before the law should be measured by one standard. Has he violated the rights of another person? 1. Equal accountability. Those who steal, defraud, assault, or destroy must face swift and impartial justice. Immigrant or not, crime is not nationality or race, it is conduct. 2. Equal liberty. Those who live peaceably, labor honestly, and respect their neighbor's life and property should be free from persecution, suspicion, legal jeopardy, or arbitrary control. Liberty is the natural state of man. Restraint is justified only in defense. 3. Limited government power. The purpose of law is to defend rights, not create victims. When law punishes a person for existing rather than for injuring another, it has turned away from both justice and constitutional purpose. Under both Scripture and the Constitution, now look, I'm going to chime in here again and say, what Scripture says should play no part in, or plays no part in my determination of what should be the laws of the land or not. But if he's looking to Scripture to defend individual liberty, then I'll take it. Under both Scripture and Constitution, liberty ends only where another's rights begin. These principles preserves public safety without sacrificing freedom. It honors God's command, love does no harm to a neighbor, therefore love is fulfillment of the law, and fulfills the Constitution's promise that no person shall be deprived of life or liberty without due process. Part 6. Faith and the Founding Creed in Harmony. The Declaration of Independence declares all people are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. That statement, echoing Scripture, locates an individual's rights in God, not in government. Well, I would minorly say that it locates an individual's rights in that individual's creator. The creator could be nature, the creator could be the parents, whatever, but the acts of being born should grant you with certain rights, and it shouldn't be what a holy book tells you. It should be the fact that that should be the natural state of man. But both the gospel of Jesus Christ and the founding creed teach that authority must exist for the sake of justice, not exclusion. Governments are ordained to punish wrongdoing and protect the innocent, according to Romans, not to deny shelter, work, or residency to those who seek peace. A nation faithful to both the Constitution and the gospel of Jesus Christ will therefore protect life, liberty, and property for all who live within its reach. It will enforce its laws against those who harm others, but it will not criminalize honest labor or peaceful presence. Borders may serve the purposes of order and protection, yet order and safety must always yield to justice and divine law, for when they do not, both safety and order perish. Much like those who would give up a little bit of liberty for a little bit of security will get neither and deserve neither and will lose both. Part 7, the consequences of forgetting justice and mercy. When a nation ceases to protect all people equally, it begins to corrode the very foundation that sustain it. The moral cost is immediate, and the social decay soon follows. Number 1 of section 7. Moral consequences. Scripture warns us that injustice invites in judgment. Woe to those who make unjust laws, and that right grievousness which they have prescribed. Isaiah 10, 1 and 2. When law is used to oppress rather than to defend, it turns the strength of government into sin. God rebuked Israel for oppressing the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, according to Jeremiah 7, verses 5 and 7. A people that close their hearts to justice and charity close the doors to divine blessing. Christ declared that the nations will be judged by how they treat the least of these. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in, naked, and ye clothed me not, sick and in prison, and ye visited me not. Matthew 25, verse 43. To refuse refuge is not merely unkind, it is disobedience to the command that defines Christian faith and its condition for salvation. Now, I'll tell you that, again, my own commentary here, there are plenty of Christians out there that do not follow this set of this idea of Christianity. I would wish more would, because we'd be in a much better place if more Christians embraced this. Part 2, social consequences. History confirms this pattern. Societies that divide people by origin or status sow distrust and violence within their own borders. Empires that enslaved or excluded foreign peoples eventually collapsed under rebellion and moral exhaustion. In America, every era of exclusion, native removals, slavery, segregation, religious bigotry, race-based immigration bans left wounds that were difficult to heal. Each produced social conflict, economic loss, and a stain on the national conscience. Denying refuge does not secure peace. It multiplies suffering. The refusal to shelter Jewish refugees in the 1930s stands as one of the darkest moral failures of the modern world. He's going to lose a bunch of MAGA folks at that point. Fear and prejudice may preserve comfort for a moment, but they destroy moral credibility for centuries. 3. The withering of freedom. When a government decides some persons are less entitled to protection, the precedent never stops at the border. Injustice toward the outsider becomes permission to oppress the insider. As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. wrote from Birmingham jail, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. A nation that denies refuge will soon find its own citizens unsafe, for it has taught itself to ignore the higher laws. 4. Restoring the blessing. Scripture promises renewal to the people who repent of hardness and return to mercy. If thou take away from the midst of thee the yoke, and if thou draw out thy soul to the hungry and satisfy the afflicted soul, then shall thy light rise in obscurity, and thy darkness be as noonday. Equal protection is not only a legal principle, but an act of worship. The nation's acknowledgement that every human being bears God's image to protect all who dwell within its reach is therefore both moral obedience and civic wisdom. It heals division, strengthens trust, and invites divine blessing. The refusal to do so leads to the opposite: fear, decay, withdrawal of God's blessings, and eventual ruin. Part 8. Conclusion, a call to America. From the first settlers who crossed the Atlantic to the families arriving today, the same hope has guided human movements: to live free under God. The United States honors both its faith and its founding when it treats newcomers not as trespassers but as neighbors. Every person who comes seeking peace carries the same image of the Creator that the Pilgrims claimed for themselves. To protect such people is not weakness, it is fidelity to the gospel of Jesus Christ that commands love of the stranger, to the Constitution that protects every person's liberty, and to the American story itself. As the Apostle Paul wrote, "You are no longer foreigners and strangers, but fellow citizens with God's people and members of his household." When America lives by that truth, punishing harm and protecting the peaceful, it remains what it was meant to be: a refuge of freedom under a God, a nation where law and mercy walk together. Now, how about them apples? Can you believe that Ammon Bundy wrote that? I mean, I am personally shook. The fact that he is taking such a hard stance. Again, look, and I'm sure he's going to have plenty of people who are going to come out and attack him from the right, call him a traitor, call him disloyal, and whatever. But he's just one of many recent conservatives who have come out and said, look, what this administration doing is wrong, and it needs to be stopped. Unfortunately, he is one of many, but the many are still not enough to turn the tide and stop the tyranny that is going on and these attacks on individual liberties I even think Ammon Bundy here goes further than some Democrats do on how you should treat the stranger in our land. So Ammon Bundy, at least on his stance as it pertains to immigration and how to treat people who are here in this country in violation of our border laws, he is more progressive and on the left than many people in the Democratic Party are. And maybe the Democrats need to pay attention to that and understand that there is a religious argument to be made to the people on the right who look towards their faith to guide their principles and to say, hey, listen to him, he's making a decent argument. And look, if you look towards your faith to guide your principles and you sit there and protect the innocent, protect people like those who ICE is going after, not the bad hombres, not the worst of the worst, not the people who are causing damage to other people, but the people who are just working here, trying to put in an honest day's labor, etc. If pointing to the scripture causes those people to come around to the right side of history, I'm not going to argue with them. I may not be a religious person myself, but if somebody takes a different path to get to where I am and get to where we are on liberty, on freedom, on injustice, I'm happy they got to the same place. So, what do you think? Or do you think? Agree, disagree? Leave your comments down below. Remember to like, share, subscribe, and of course, as always, have a good day. Of course, we're not ending the show at the moment. That's just how I sometimes will end things that I record live. So, there we go. Jolie says, anyone aligned with this Republican Party is not a Christian. I would agree with you 100%. To Ali Osher, let's see. 250 kilometers, you can't discover a land already inhabited, so I've heard. Sure, but Trump says he gotten 10 million and then may run for a third term, but not humble or saying, yeah. To be honest, I don't think, or church is a different game, and to be honest, I don't think people on the right give a rat's ass about their faith. It's used only as a means to oppress people, which, why they cherry pick Leviticus. I mean, that's true. Fugelsang debated Jesse Lee Peterson, a black pastor who shits on black people at Politicon years ago. Fugelsang did his usual monologue on the stuff Jesus actually said. Purchinen responds, that's not the kind of Jesus we do not want. That's beta Jesus. Beta. Nice. I mean, you know, all their alpha, beta bullshit is bullshit. So, Surrender Monkey. I missed most of that when I was eating a ham salad. Can you go over that again? Man, if you were eating a ham salad, you weren't following the Bible, at least the rules of kosher, right? Because you're not supposed to eat pig. But this will be uploaded and will be live. That part will be live tomorrow in a separate little thing. So you're more than welcome to grab that little smidge right there and go from there. What else did I miss before I move on to the next part? Let's see, blah, blah, blah. Let's scroll up even more. I don't know if I said hello to Roxanne earlier, but hello, Roxanne. John Glad says, without God, there is no morality. I disagree with that. I mean, I think you could get moral lessons from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, as you could with the Bible. Dan should give us a quiz to see if we were paying attention. What was the fourth word I said? No. Aaron, I ate a pork chop today. You're a bad Jew. I actually had lamb. It wasn't great. It was like a frozen leg of lamb or whatever, and I made it in the pressure cooker, and it was just not seasoned very well at all. I threw in a bunch of seasoning. It just didn't get seasoned well, so I wasn't very happy with my lamb today. But, I mean, I ate bacon all the goddamn time, so... let's see. Bill, I got to run. Try and stop back before the end of the show. Be safe. Take care. Have a good one, Bill. You as well. Be safe. And have a good rest of your night. Smash that like button if you haven't already done so as you go out the door. To John Glad, 10 Commandments, Beatitudes, live humbly with kindness, Christianity in a nutshell. Unfortunately, too many people are not that type of Christian, which is unfortunate. So, let's see. Let's talk about some other stuff going on in the news today. Let's see, where are we at about now? We're about 38 minutes in. Okay, that's good. I have to remember 38 minutes for, maybe 38 minutes and 15 seconds for when I need to start the software to start pulling clips again. Nike investigated for discriminating against white people in a DEI probe. EEOC has launched a federal investigation into Nike's DEI program, alleging the company may have discriminated against employees and applicants. The federal agency that fights workplace bias is investigating Nike over treatment of white employees, making good on the Trump administration pledge to crack down on DEI and make shielding white men from discrimination a priority. Who will think about the poor white man? They've been so discriminated against for such a long time. I will remember you. Anyway, the investigation is one of the first announced by the EEOC, which will put out a call seeking discrimination complaints from white men, or which put out a call, I should say, seeking discrimination complaints from white men in December. The EEOC said Wednesday, February 4th, it filed an action in federal court in Missouri to compel Nike to produce information related to allegations that the company discriminated against white workers as part of a DEI program that targets it's set to increase the number of underrepresented workers in the ranks and leadership. So let me get this straight. So the employees were underrepresented. So minorities were underrepresented and women were underrepresented. So Nike was trying to fix that. And in trying to fix that, they're like, oh, why won't you think about the white men who are currently making up more and are overrepresented in the workforce? So apparently moving from an overrepresentation in the workforce to what you should have as a representation in the workforce is somehow racially biased. Make that make sense for me, conservatives. I would love to see you try to make that make sense, but I doubt you'll be successful. Let's see. here's from the EEOC itself. The U.S. Equal Opportunity Commission announced today that the federal agency filed an action in federal court to compel Nike to produce information related to allegations that the company discriminated against white workers, including as a result of Nike's diversity, equity, inclusion related 2025 targets and other DEI-related objectives. According to the court filing, the agency is investigating systemic allegations, of notice how they don't mind talking about systemic allegations when, you're protecting the poor white man. Oh no, boo-hoo. Blah, blah, blah. Nike may have engaged in a pattern of practice of disparate treatment against white employees, applicants, and training program participants in hiring, promotion, demotion, and separation decisions, including selection for layoffs, internship programs, and mentoring projects, and other career development programs. Did these same conservatives ever blink an eye when the same thing was going on for the history of the country? No, they would say, "Oh, it's states' rights. Oh, that's not something that's something that a business should be able to decide for itself." That's the typical conservative talking points that would come into play, but not when it hurts a white man, and a white man doesn't get a promotion. Oh no, white men have gotten plenty of promotions over the course of the history of this country and the world. But now that we actually start caring about making sure that people aren't discriminated on because of race, and start trying to fix the issues that were created by the past discrimination against people who are not, cisgendered heterosexual white men. Now all of a sudden those white men are crying, or at least some white men are crying. I'm white. I don't give a shit about whether or not I actually prefer places that embrace DEI. I prefer places that embrace diversity, equity, and inclusion, because all of those things are vital and important to have in the workplace. And studies show that when you have diverse work environments that give equity to people when as needed, and include people from all aspects of life, that you get overall better outcomes. But the only outcome that MAGA conservatives care about is one of bigotry and racism. So the EEOC investigation and subpoena sought information related to these allegations, with some requests going back to 2018. Information sought included criteria used in selecting employees for layoffs, information relating to the company's tracking and use of worker race and ethnicity data, yada, yada, yada. When there are compelling indications, including corporate admissions and extensive public materials, that an employer's diversity, equity, and inclusion-related program may violate federal prohibitions against race discrimination, the EEOC will take all necessary steps, including subpoena enforcement actions, to ensure the opportunity and fully comprehend and investigate. Are they going to do the same thing when it comes to other companies that discriminate against black people, against gay people, against Hispanic people, against anybody else who isn't a white man? Are you going to do the same thing? Because I have no faith whatsoever that y'all are going to take the same energy and effort to look into those companies doing that, because you're going to protect their ability to do that, because you're about protecting white people only, because this administration is enforcing a white supremacist agenda, nothing more, nothing less. And that's all that this is about. This is catering and pandering to the white supremacists who support Donald Trump, and to the rich folks who are white supremacists who want to be able to get away with doing whatever it is they want to do, and Donald Trump's going to help them along the way with this bullshit. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Choices of game. They're cool with that kind of discrimination. Yeah, imagine, if Biden would have attacked DEI, they probably wouldn't have a problem with it. But problem is the other thing is that if Trump's not going to worry about seeing all the other forms of discrimination only when white people are discriminated, because that's what he chooses to see. He chooses to see the discrimination against the so-called or supposed discrimination against white people, but he doesn't see the discrimination against folks who are unlike him.
If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. Object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
Madam President Piggy, whatever. Hi, I'm Mr. Liberal here. Don't like it. Fight me. Not fight Dan. I effed it up. Good job, Madam President Piggy, or whatever that username means, whatever. But I guess you can admit your own mistakes, right? Anyway, Steve says, fuck it. I lived in Edinburgh for a few years. Went to a pub with friends and we met Irvin Welsh drinking alone at the bar, got talking. We told him footballs about where to start. He went. I don't know where he went. Next day, we found out he got arrested and spent the night in cells for being drunk and disorderly at the match. Sorry, Irvine. Again.
If it's no Scottish, it's crap.
Anyway. So, but let's say we did talk about, you know, the conservatives who are getting pissed off at Trump and his administration. Let us listen to one thing that has managed to piss off some conservatives in this from this administration, and that is Jeanine effing Pirro. What could old Jeanine have said to make MAGA, not necessarily MAGA mad, but to make conservatives mad?
And you bring a gun into the district, you mark my words, you're going to jail. I don't care if you have a license in another district, and I don't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner somewhere else.
So she doesn't care if you're a law-abiding gun owner anywhere. She doesn't care about what your other permitting says. She's going to arrest you for bringing a gun into D.C. Now, she has since backtracked a little bit. She's, oh, I'm only talking about the people bringing in the guns illegally to D.C. But still, guns illegally in D.C. could still be legal somewhere else. This is one of the reasons why I think that there should be only federal guidelines or federal restrictions on guns and not be a state or municipal by municipal decision. Because when you have a patchwork of gun control laws, you then create a situation that makes it difficult for people who are law-abiding citizens who do own guns to travel within these United States and be able to be secure in the fact that if they're law-abiding citizens and they're using their guns properly and responsibly, that they're not going to be pulled over or have their guns seized for some bullshit reason. And maybe that sounds more Second Amendment conservative. I mean, usually a Second Amendment, type conservative would basically be saying there should be no regulations on guns, which I don't believe. But to me, to have one set of rules in Chicago and another set of rules outside Chicago and one set of rules in D.C. and one set of rules in North Carolina, another set of rules in New York, another set of rules in Louisiana, another set of rules in Texas. You have all these different rules that are conflicting with each other, and you create a patchwork of laws that are supposed to be based on a right that people have. If it's a right that people have. Now look, D.C. versus Heller clearly stated, as written by Scalia, that the right to own a gun is not unlimited and that government does have some role to play in restricting the ownership of guns by some people, by making sure that certain regulations are in place. Even Scalia said that. Scalia said that there was room for regulation of guns in the Second Amendment. I would argue that you shouldn't have states or local municipalities making more restrictive gun ownership laws. It should all be coming from the federal government with one singular set of rules that everybody has to follow, everybody has to comply with, etc. Be they maybe no felons. If you've committed a gun crime, you can't own a gun, you lose your right to own a gun, perfectly fine. Setting up universal background checks, something that a vast majority of people support, like 90% of all people, 80% of people who are gun carriers or who own guns already all believe that you should be able to, basically require a background check for any transfer of any gun from one person to another. So those are all examples of reasonable regulations that you could pass, but they should all be done at the federal government so we can have a uniform set of laws as it pertains to what's going on, as it pertains to your right to have a gun, right? But no, this administration has gone completely backwards against that. This administration, Trump said, even after a fake screenshot of Truth Social came out saying Donald Trump saying he shouldn't have a gun, Donald Trump then comes out and says Alex Preddy shouldn't have had a gun on him. Patel, Bundy, bovine excrement, all of them saying that these people shouldn't have been armed. And you have some conservatives coming out of the work saying, well, wait a second, you're pushing a little too far. I'm sure Ammon Bundy would also say that this is bullshit, that the gun control stuff wasn't in his paper that we read, but I'm sure he also disagrees with that as well. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think I would be correct in saying that, especially considering the fact that, he had guns when he took over the Oregon ranch, what was it? He also had, there was guns that were there at the protest of his dad's ranch too. So I'm sure he pretty much would agree with the fact that what the Trump administration is saying about the right of protesters to be armed is full of shit and goes against the Constitution, goes against the Second Amendment. But again, while we have people on the right who are absolutely defecting and speaking out against this administration and the actions that the administration is taking, it's not enough. Speaking of people who are coming out against this administration, Marjorie Taylor Greene on Monday reported by The Hill, MAGA, quote, was all a lie. Former Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene of Georgia said President Trump's Make America Great Again slogan was a lie, saying his first year back in office was focused on obliging wealthy supporters. She says, and I quote, I think people are realizing it was all a lie. I would say not enough people are realizing it still, but there are people who are realizing that it was a lie. It was a big lie for the people. What MAGA is really serving in this administration, who they are serving, is their big donors. Greene said in a Wednesday interview with radio personality Kim Iverson. The big donors that donated all the money and continue to donate to the president's PACs and donate to the 250th anniversary and are donating to the big ballroom, she added. The former Georgia representative recently resigned from Congress after airing concerns over the future of healthcare premiums and the war in Gaza, citing fractures within the GOP and falling out with Trump and MAGA despite years of loyal support for the president. Yeah, I guess no loyalty goes unpunished if you happen to be disloyal once. Speak bad against Trump once, and afterwards, after the speaking in support of him, you're going to get thrown to the curb. Now, when people speak ill of you their entire time and he feels the need to kiss your ass still, like Mamdani, he'll do that. This is not to be negative against Mamdani, but Donald Trump looked, to use a conservative term, rather beta when he was sitting there next to Mamdani, when he was having Mamdani in the Oval Office. On Wednesday, she said the people who truly benefit from backing Trump are financial benefactors, telling Iverson those are the people that get the special favors. They get government contracts, they get pardons, or somebody they love or one of their friends gets a pardon. Since the start of the second Trump administration, the president has encouraged wealthy sponsors to provide private contributions for his political endeavors, including the construction of the White House ballroom and the celebration of the 250th anniversary of America's founding. Greene criticized the favoritism for Trump's wealthy allies and also slammed the president for focusing on foreign policy rather than problems at home in her interview. In the foreign countries, they are running the show here. It is a major big corporation and what is best for the world. That's really what MAGA is. We are seeing war on behalf of Israel. We are seeing the people in Gaza, innocent people in Gaza, hundreds of thousands of them completely murdered so that they can build some new real estate development. Marjorie Taylor Greene talking about the innocent people in Gaza being killed so that they can have Trump med. Like, again, I'm never going to forget about her Jewish space laser comment. She is a bigot as well. She is a horrible person, and I do not trust her as far as I can throw her. And maybe as I'm getting stronger, I can throw her a little further than before, gaining some knee strength so I can put some leg oomph into it. But still, no, she's still anti-Semitic. She's still a horrible person. She's still terrible. But I'm going to sit there and eat my popcorn whilst watching her lay into Donald Trump. And if she actually happens to say something that's right and I agree with, I'll speak up and I'll say that she was right. Like here, criticizing the Trump administration for supporting the murder of innocent people in Gaza in order so they can have some new real estate development. Yep, she's 100% dead on balls accurate there. Money can pour in and everybody can get rich there in the new Gaza, she told Iverson. Everybody except for the people who lived in Gaza, the people you just murdered to be able to have that happen. And she goes on to continue to say, and we're seeing a whole new plan play out, which is really a new world order. I mean, this is where I'm in tinfoil hat still. I mean, pew pew lasers. But it's a new way of doing business, and that's the kind of like Scooby-Doo meme where they pull the mask off the bad guy, Greene continued. Former lawmaker alleged that the MAGA movement isn't about America or the American people. Again, if only more people would start waking up to this stuff. If only more people would start realizing that, this administration is full of crap and they're not going to be helping at all. Like, let's say, people in the ICE ERO subreddit. Description. This is an unofficial forum for current deportation officers, prospective applicants, and retired deportation officers to have a platform of discussion. It's unofficial, but for many people around the world, we represent ICE EEO. Therefore, we have rules. Please read the rules. Blah, blah, blah. Violations of OPSEC will result in removal without warning. Here's what some people wrote in ICE EEO. Such Alternative 341 wrote, been here for about 2 months. Still waiting for my health insurance. Is anyone having that issue as well? I choose Blue Cross Blue Shield Basic. MSS told me they don't know how long it'll take. And I have a sick daughter with no insurance. Well, I guess you fucked around and you found out. Here's your first mistake. You believed Donald Trump would be, paying you. You believed the bullshit. Someone else, anyone get the bonus yet? Somebody responds, don't expect much. It's like $6,000 after taxes, and they put it in the regular paycheck, so you end up paying about $4,000 to $5,000 in taxes on that check, which is kind of a weird way to pay out a bonus, because normally when you get a bonus on the same time you get another pay, you get 2 checks, not 1. But I guess this is the Trump administration running things, and they're gonna do things their way. This person, Aromantic Low 1334, says, didn't even get paid yet for the base check. Plus frosting, 2456. Man, Monday is 4 weeks since I started, and I haven't been paid yet. What can I say? What can I say other than, you fucking deserve it. You deserve it. You signed up to be part of this bullshit, white supremacist, racist, bigoted, xenophobic organization because you believed that Donald Trump was going to give you a crap ton of money, and guess what? You're not getting it. Here's another one from a alternative. It's like ICE __ EEO. I was scrolling on job websites and decided to check out that nice $50,000 bonus and think I should join and just leak all precious information to the public. Then I got to reading the contract and what it entails. I know maggots can't read, but I'll dumb it down. So this guy's already my hero. 50,000 sign-on bonus. This gets dispersed $10,000 per year, but you won't get all of it after you get taxed on it, which is normal. A bonus normally gets taxed, and so you're going to get taxed on a bonus at like a high rate, like the 40% rate. So if you get $10,000 per year, you are going to get a $6,000 check and not a $10,000 check. The fine print: you must finish the full 5 years. You cannot quit, nor can you get fired, or you'll have to pay back the bonus you received. The amount pre-taxes, so the full $10,000 is what you would have to pay back. Trump's presidential term is 4 years, so you might get fired, and you look at that and you didn't serve the full 5 years, so now you have to pay back the money pre-tax, and you can't file for bankruptcy because it's the government, so bankruptcy protections will not protect you. And somebody in response goes, let them F themselves over. You all got duped by a pants-shitting, child-raping, grifting fraud. Why? Because you believed undocumented immigrants were the cause of your working-class woes. Did it ever occur to you that they don't have the collective capital and power to make that kind of impact on you? You know who does? Elon Musk, Larry Ellison, Peter Thiel, Alex Karp, Sam Altman, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Michael Dell, Larry Page, Jensen Huang, Miriam Adelson, and the Israeli government. Oh, Jesus. They're using you to train AI surveillance and AI state as a surveillance state, and will eventually be used on you too. They got you fighting a culture war instead of a class war. Open your eyes. So, yeah, I think most people are aware that bonuses are heavily taxed, not the full amount. But somebody else says, but of course, I don't believe that most people understand that. I think most people don't believe that at all. I think most people think that, oh, I'm getting 10 grand, I'm getting 10 grand. And then they'll see, maybe these people never got a bonus one day in their lives because they've worked shit jobs and decided, oh, I want to work a better job now, and this is going to pay me a $50,000 bonus. Let's have me sign up right now and get that cheddar. Make that bank, right? Nope. Sorry. You're not going to get that. Let's see what else. That's not one of the ones. And that's also, anyway, so basically you had a whole bunch of people who are in the find out phase. And I love the find out phase. ICE has to work 3 years or forfeit your bonuses or buyouts, and you go to jail. Second offending J6ers, good luck. Let's see. A Church of Different Game goes, Dan, I feel like you can do a good redneck impression. Well, I reckon I can. The only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. How about that? I reckon you think I'm right. I mean, sometimes when I used to do my words of redneck wisdom and I would read from somebody else's blog, I would be the one who would be reading from the blog and basically talking to them about speaking as them and doing it in this type of an accent. So I would reckon I would be able to do a fairly good redneck impression, but I'll let you be the judge of that, whether or not you think it's right or not. Kim Iverson, Jesus Christ, yeah. Somebody says I call her Kim Ivermectin. 250 kilo. Don't trust EmptyGee as far as I can comfortably spit out a rat. Well, I mean, why would you would be spitting her out, right? Since that's what she is. Let's see. Perfect impression, but the sentiment is still fucking stupid. Yes, thank you. Very Gomer Pyle. Thank you very much, both of y'all. It's the goddess Kimchi in the YouTube chat. And Lainey Tang, good to see you, Lainey. Thank you for joining as well. Big Hook is here as well. Thank you, Big Hook. Good to see you too. MJ Daniel also is here. Shouts out to you. The bonus is gone for lawyer fees. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that would pretty much suck. If you imagine you get paid $10,000. You get taxed, you pay $4,000 in taxes, or $4,000 gets withheld, and then you don't get that back from when you file your taxes or whatever. So then, are you going to really have to pay back all 10? I mean, you might have to, but it seems kind of shitty. But then against the Trump administration, you would expect the Donald Trump administration would be just super, super shitty regardless. And again, if these people actually took the time and paid attention to what Donald Trump did over the course of his business career, you would understand that y'all ain't getting that money. Y'all ain't making that bag. Y'all ain't getting that cheddar. It's not happening. Because Donald Trump has made a career of stiffing people who he owes money to. He makes a promise to pay the money, and then he comes up with some excuse to not use it. Sometimes using the government as an excuse by, filing bankruptcy. Getting up a whole bunch of business debt to pay for all these improvements to his casinos or whatever, and then cash out the money to himself personally. Oh, it's a casino. Casino has to go bankrupt now. Oh, I'm sorry, you can't go after Donald Trump even though he took all the money out of the casino before declaring bankruptcy. Too bad for you. Now you got stiffed. Or other times he'd just be like, look, you did this work for us and you billed us for 10 grand, but I only think I should have to pay 6 grand, even if there was like 7 grand of costs. And they'd basically be like, look, we have attorneys that are on retainer and you can sue us, but it's going to cost you much more to sue us. So you better just take the money right now. And there should be laws against such things. There should be laws to prevent the use of the legal system to use your high-powered attorneys to not be able to get the money that you owed. Like if there's a signed contract that says we get paid X and you don't pay them X, then you should be able to throw on your attorney's fees on top of whatever X was and get back more than X plus interest plus all the hassle that you had to deal with all that. But of course, are big money interests ever going to allow that to happen? Probably not. Imagine if Biden had stiffed a bunch of people and then declared bankruptcy.
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
And 250 Kilo had said that they'll find out what it's like being a contractor for Trump, and I never even read that. That was like on this side of my eye, and I was looking straight at the camera when I started talking about what it's like being a contractor for Trump. So I got you, 250 Kilo Ohm. We're on the same wavelength, right? They had green acres in the tube for my doctor's waiting room. Such a hoot. I've heard an interesting thing about Green Acres specifically. I think it was Ava Gabor was the Gabor sister that was in Green Acres. Am I correct in that? I think that's correct. Apparently, if you listen to Delight, Grooves in the Heart, and with the part that goes, that went out, that part apparently is Ava Gabor. Who knew? Random shit you get scrolling YouTube and finding all sorts of stuff that the algorithm thinks you're interested in. But I guess that was an interesting thing. So I guess they were right in that I would be interested in it, even though I wouldn't have thought so at the time, because I never really watched much of Green Acres, even though it's the place to be and farm living is the life for me. Anyway. Maybe it's Green Acres. Maybe it's the other one. Maybe it's not Green Acres. Maybe it's a different show. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Friend of mine, Dean Baker says, a friend of my brother did some work and guess what? Trump screwed him. Shocked enough. Big Hook says, I don't recommend tearing your Achilles. It's a long, painful journey in recovery. I just got lucky not needing surgery. Otherwise, I would have been 6 months instead of 3. Oof. Hell, like, this second knee surgery is taking longer. Like, I think I only was in physical therapy for my left knee, which is my worst knee, for 6 weeks. I've been in physical therapy for 10 weeks for my right knee, and it's still not completely, or not, still not at the place where I was after 6 weeks. So we'll see. It's getting slowly better. We may only do 1 more week of physical therapy. We'll see. Anyway, what else do we want to talk about today? We already talked about those things. We can delete those off of my screen. We did want to talk a little bit about, a little more in detail. We discussed it a little bit on Monday's show, but again, the Texas loss, giving a potential warning to the Republicans and the Republican Party. And this is why Donald Trump is now saying that he wants to nationalize elections, which would be a wild, unconstitutional action to take. Well, yes, you do have the right to vote. And perhaps there should be national standards on things like having a national ID that everybody gets for free. So you make sure that everybody gets their ID. Everybody gets it for free. And then you could use those IDs to vote. But to be able to have the nation running local elections, that's some bullshit. Because that's some bullshit. And look, when you have the right to vote, I do think that it's possible that local municipalities or states should be able to determine and maybe add to the people who they feel that they can vote on state or local elections if a state decides that they want to do that. But that doesn't infringe on anybody else's rights, unlike, the patchwork of laws when it comes to, like, what abortions you can have, or what abortions are legal, what abortions are not legal, or what guns you can carry, and where you can and can't carry it, and how you can or can't carry it, etc. Like, those are restrictions on personal actions versus allowance of personal actions. That's like 2 completely different things. And that's where I'm going to draw that line there. Voters in Texas have sent another warning to Republicans that they may be facing a fierce political headwind in the critical election year. The special election for a state Senate seat on Saturday saw Democratic candidate Union Leader Taylor Remitt win by 14 points, but that doesn't tell the full story. Remitt defeated a Trump-backed candidate in a district the president won by 58-41, which means it was a 31-point swing towards the Democrats from that presidential election to the special election. Now remember, normally special elections have lower turnout, but normally special elections, the lower turnout in special elections tend to sway older, white, and conservative. So the advantages in a special election you'd seem would favor the Trump-backed candidate, but in this particular case, it did not favor the Trump-backed candidate. So if that should be a huge warning sign that the political landscape may very well be shaping up to be a very, very bad one for the Republican Party and a very, very bad one for Donald Trump in the fall. The major upsets likely to unnerve Republicans that have the midterms. Dan Patrick, not the ESPN guy, but the Republican lieutenant governor, says it was a wake-up call. I doubt that he will be woken up to anything about it. Our voters cannot take anything for granted. His comments echo those from other Republicans. The radical left Democrats are spending a fortune to beat a true MAGA warrior, Trump wrote, referring to his Make America Great Again movement. Then again, after he wrote several posts on Truth Social in support of the loser in that election, he now says he wasn't on the ballot. He didn't know anything about it. He didn't say anything about it because his go-to is just lie. When called out on something, just lie. There you go. So And again, as we talked about the last show, Trump claims that he wasn't on the ballot and that's why he lost, that's why she lost, or that's why the Republican lost. Well, guess what? You're always going to be on the ballot because, again, everybody's going to ask the question, are you supporting the actions of this president or not? And that's going to be the focus of many of these voters. Some people may say, are you supporting the actions of this president? And that's the reason to vote for the person who is supporting the actions of the president. Meanwhile, other people are going to come out and say, oh, you support the actions of this president. F you, we're voting for the other guy. And it seems like that's what happened in this particular case. Again, one election isn't necessarily a bellwether for everything to come, but we've seen more than just one. We've seen lots of examples of elections with Democrats sweeping in November 2025, with Democrats winning special elections in places that they shouldn't. It's happening over and over and over again. And the more this administration does things like, come out against Second Amendment rights, like, murder American citizens, the more, hell, this policies, the immigration policies are not what a lot of these people voted for. Now, some of them who are very vocal will say, this is exactly what I voted for. Yep, I voted exactly to deport all these people. I don't care if they're here legally or not, as long as they're not white. I say get rid of them all. I wish he could go after more of them, I'm sure some would say. But many other people, the ones who might have a little bit more brain cells in their heads might be like, well, maybe he's taking things too far and this isn't the direction that we want to be going as a country. Unfortunately, those people have to be louder, Chad. Speaking to you specifically, Chad, because while a lot of people may have problems with you in the chat, I will simply say that I do think that you are probably one of the more likely people to change your minds, but the time to change your mind about Donald Trump and to admit the mistake is now, if not before. It's never too late to do it, but, this administration is going far too much going on by this administration. Hey, San 9005, good to see you. Republicans say free voter ID, but it's tattooed. Sarcasm. Fan saying goes, I just had some election judge training municipalities currently perform the verification as part of registration. If there is a request for ID, it's under a very specific set of terms currently in most areas. Look, I show up when I vote. I automatically hand my ID, and it's fine. But then again, in Louisiana, you get an ID for free. You just have to show up with the paperwork. That's the only problem with that, is that you have to then bring the paperwork. And what if your paperwork's missing? What if the place that had it, is no longer there? What if there's some sort of problem with the paperwork and you can't get it again, or have a difficulty getting the paperwork that you need to get the paperwork? You don't have the time to go get the paperwork. That's the only problem with that particular thing. When you fix that issue, then whatever. But the federal government should have your social security number, should be able to say, hey, here's your ID, or here's the paperwork that you need to get the ID. Go get your ID, and it should be obtainable for free. And there you go. But unfortunately, the conservatives won't do that, because conservatives don't actually want to have the problem that they claim of voter ID is solved, because then they can't use these so-called voter ID laws to shove other provisions in there that are not based on having a requirement to show a voter ID, but instead try and disenfranchise voters in very other ways. But they just don't want to hear it. So anyway, DB Golding just used the microchip from the COVID vax. You get 5G too, so you can have your own cell tower, right? So anyway, House said it best. We're not against showing ID. We're against poll taxes. Send people free national ID, and we're golden. Yep. I mean, it's one of the many areas I agree with Hal on. And I even have a video on it, dealing with the Republican attacks on voter ID. And the same thing, just agree to have it. I mean, they had a law in Wisconsin that was passed. It was sent to as a ballot initiative to the voters, and 60% of Wisconsin voted to have an ID requirement. Because that's the only thing that was in the legislation. There was nothing else in the legislation. It's not like this so-called SAVE Act that will make it harder for people who are supposedly. I haven't gone into I've briefly looked at the law, but it's one of these bills or the proposed bill is one of these bills that's like, it amends this, it amends this, it amends this, it amends this. So it doesn't actually list out what the entirety of the law would look like after it amends the law. That should be something that's required. It should basically say, hey, here's what the text of the law is, with all of the edit this part to say this, delete this, add this. But it should also give you what would this law look like, what would the laws look like after this passed, so you could see the full verbiage and therefore have a better picture, so you would be able to know. But according to people who are probably smarter than me, they've said that this law requires or makes it harder for women who are married to be able to go get voter ID, which then is going to might potentially have the effect of reducing women voter turnout, which will then make conservatives be more likely to win elections, and that's always the goal. They don't care who they disenfranchise as long as they can win. So, hey, Teresa, good to see you. Thank you for joining the show. Appreciate you. Same thing with verifying work status for migrant workers, too. An employer has to verify work status with the federal government for tax purposes. Same can do with a national voter ID. It's already logged. However, Republicans would hate having to carry it to the polling place. Oh, boo-hoo. It's creating a mountain of a molehill and exactly one detention, preventing people from voting, particularly people who vote Democrat. Yep, exactly. Before we open up the phone lines, which we will do in a second, so that you'll see the graphic when it pops up. We're not doing it yet, but we'll do it shortly, briefly at least. Did want to have a little bit of a rant, I should say. Fat Man Rants. We are doing a Fat Man Rant today. And this is a kind of a personal Fat Man Rant. Do you remember on, was it Monday show, when we were going over, it might have been Monday show, it might have been a show last week, but we were talking about, the GOP healthcare plan, and we pulled up the video from Alan Grayson, where Alan Grayson describes the GOP healthcare plan. And the GOP healthcare plan was, don't get sick, and if you do, die quickly. That was basically his interpretation of the GOP healthcare plan. But here's the thing. I put that video in my live, or it was there in the live that we did. I got a copyright violation notification saying that video could not be monetized. I could not have that video be monetized. And the complaint came in from the Associated Press in the United Kingdom or some shit like that. I think that was the one. I think it was the Associated Press in the United Kingdom. And they claimed that part of the video was me sharing some content that they created, and not the one from Alan Grayson's website. Now, yes, they used the content from Alan Grayson's website. Absolutely. They took it. And then when Alan Grayson's YouTube page got it from C-SPAN. Something on C-SPAN is not going to be something from C-SPAN is not going to be something that's copyrightable. That is in the public domain. But guess what? These people are trying to claim that I took their content and made it my own, and then they're trying to claim that I can't monetize the video because of that. And they're claiming that the content was from the Associated Press UK, and that the video is called "A Democratic Congressman from Florida is refusing to apologize for saying that Republicans want American health insurance, blah, 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 blah." So yes, they have a video out there that uses that part of Alan Grayson's clip. But they think that their software, or whatever software was used, they believe that I used their clip when I used the clip from Alan Grayson's YouTube channel. This should be against the rules. This should cause YouTube, if people make fraudulent claims of copyright violations, and they're shown to have made fraudulent claims of copyright violations, they should lose their ability to challenge anything, and they should get kicked off of YouTube in general. Because that's abuse of the system. And before I was monetized, I really wouldn't care too much. Why? Because I wasn't monetized, and therefore I wasn't making any money off of ads, so therefore it didn't really matter anything to me. But right now, my monetization on that video is being held because the United Press of UK has decided to claim that I used their video when I only used a video that was on C-SPAN and as such was in the public domain. So F the Associated Press of the UK. Screw y'all. I have made an appeal to YouTube, and they now have to respond to that appeal. And of course, when I make an appeal, it'll tell me that if I make a fraudulent appeal, and if I'm using other people's material that I can't be using, that I might lose monetization, or I might lose my ability to use YouTube altogether. So I have to check that box to say, you know, I understand my risks in challenging this. But they don't, do they? Do they have to check a box that says we understand that if we make a fraudulent claim against this user, that we will lose our ability to be monetized on YouTube? If YouTube doesn't do that, that's a huge problem. Because it's basically allowing people to just use the shotgun approach, just blast away at everybody possible. If you think that they might be using your content and not verify that you're using the content, but they think that they might be, and as such, shutting people down and taking away smaller creators' money for doing so when I did nothing wrong. So, F off to the AP in the United Kingdom for the bullshit claim that I used their copyrighted material, and for asserting that their copyrighted material is actually copyrighted when it's in the public fucking domain. F off. It's ridiculous. They can kiss my big fat hairy ass. And I hope YouTube will come through within 30 days and say, you know what? You were right. They were wrong. Your video is remonetized again. Sorry. We'll see. Anyway, it's probably not the time to ask, what if Biden issued a faux copyright strike?
Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would flip. Had Biden done it, the screen fell play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Let me put this back on again. Let me put this back on again, because there's one more thing that I have to show. Or there's one more thing I have to show as it pertains to this. Let's just show the screen from here, shall we? Or let's just show the screen. Again, one more thing to add to this video that just pisses me off. Estimated revenue from the video, $115. So this isn't like a video where I'm making, like, you know, some of my other revenue on the channel is like, oh, well, here's, you know, $2 here, $3 here. You made 7 cents here, 9 cents here. Like, no, $115 I've made on this since the ad was published. They are threatening $100 of mine with a fraudulent claim that I violated their intellectual property. This is the bullshit that comes with allowing people to make fraudulent copyright strikes against you. I guess technically this isn't a copyright strike because it's not going against my channel, but I put myself at risk for challenging them for making this fraudulent claim against me that I was using their IP when I was using something in the public fucking domain. $115 is going to be sitting in escrow until this thing settles. Would you be pissed off too, right? I mean, it's ridiculous. Again, this is a C-SPAN clip. This is something in the public domain. This is not something that the AP should be able to take credit for, but because they happen to include a public domain thing in their own video, they're saying, oh, it's part of our video, so therefore it must be. There's obviously there's no human intervention there, and there should be required human intervention when they do this. When they When these people go through and say, this video violates our copyright, you shouldn't be able to just use software to say, oh, there's a hit there. If there's a hit, a human should have to go in there and verify whether or not that clip was actually from you or if it's actually fair use or public domain. Because look, the amount of video that I used would also qualify for fair use. I could have claimed fair use as well if I was using something that was their copyrighted content. It's not fair use. It would be if it was their copyrighted content, but it's public domain. Everybody can use it. I can use it just like they did. It's bullshit. Anyway. Yeah, exactly, Steve. For fuck's sake, YouTube. It's absolutely ridiculous. Kimchi seems like a scam. I mean, I don't know if I would call it necessarily a scam, but it's definitely fraudulent. It's definitely a false claim. And I respect people's copyright. I try my damnedest, at least, to respect the copyright of other people. Now, we were doing responses to it, and yeah, you know what? But I didn't fight that. What the hell's going on now? Oh, we briefly went away, but now we're back. I think we're back, at least. Maybe I was like, oh no, did the Associated Press hear that I was attacking them and then start making another claim against me? I don't know. But we're back. And yeah, it's just, let's see. Chad goes, that's kind of fucked up. It's really fucked up. It's not just kind of fucked up. It's really, really fucked up. Again, $115. And let's just pull this up here and see what it says next to the estimated revenue from this video since it was published includes all Google sold ads and transactions for this video. Estimated revenue subject to month-end adjustment. It does not include partner sold and partner served advertising or transactions. Learn more. Due to the ongoing war in Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. No. If you're into YouTube, blah, 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 blah. Let's see. This is just a bunch of stuff or whatever. I'm really wondering. No, it's not wondering. It's not. That was not helpful whatsoever. Copyright in dispute. Copyright protected contact found. The copyright owner is reviewing your dispute. Revenue and has held separately until the dispute is resolved. Again, let's see. Earnings by ad. Live ad revenue. 93%. How much advertisers pay? $3 playback, whatever. How you make money. Supers and gifts. $99.40 was some supers and gifts, and $15.32 was from memberships. So they're saying that this is an escrow. But if this comes back negatively, and they tell me that I can't get the supers and the memberships that I got during this video because I used something in the public domain, oh, I'm going to have a whole ass video on that one. Oh, we will go all out. We will absolutely be pissed off at them. 100%. 250, could it be AI run amok? It could be. It could be AI flagging it. Because look, I had a video on my Nerdy Dan channel where I was doing like a live reaction video or a reaction video to a scene of Game of Thrones where I was making a criticism, and it was a fair use video. But the video was like 10 minutes long, and I only used maybe about a minute or so of content. So I uploaded the video. It went live right at 10 p.m. one night, roughly at 10 p.m. one night. The timestamp of the video that was, where the infraction took place was like 5 minutes into the video, and I got the copyright notification like 10:02, which means no human could have possibly watched this video and caught it. So it was clearly something that was caught by some sort of software, be it AI, be it some other sort of software that takes, their copyrightable information and says, let's look for any instances of coming up on any new videos that pop up, and kind of are able to just scan through quickly and be like, oh, there's an example of it. But anytime that happens, there should always be a human hand that intervenes. There should always be a human hand that says, hey, let's verify that this is correct. Oh, it's not correct? Then let's not submit this claim in full. And again, as what maybe I should look into after the show ends, be like, hey, what happens to a video What happens to a video, to revenue that's obtained if you can't make money off of it, yet you still get supers and gifts? Can you still get the supers and gifts, or do you lose out on everything? In which case, they're taking money away from you as well. They're preventing you from spending your money as you want. So that'll come up at some point. Let's see. It's just comparison software just looks for matching sets of frames, but yes, social media companies' moderation policies, they should be held to maintaining standards with them. Exactly. There should absolutely be, and again, I have no problem with people going after videos and saying, look, you cannot monetize this video because it is using our copyrighted content. I have no problem with that, as long as you're understanding that fair use is a thing. But when you fraudulently claim that you're violating somebody's intellectual property, and in reality it's using something that's in the public domain, you should get in trouble for that. Anyway. Let's see. Tons of ads on Hang Your Hat videos. They ain't seen a penny. Oh, now it's not even a nickel. Or Hang Your Hate. But are they monetized yet? Are they big enough to be monetized? I don't know. I don't know how many subscriptions Hang Your Hate has. So, Jolie says, I got one for a really old Christmas song. Hell, when Disney's, whatchamacallit, Steamboat Willie went into the public domain. And it was like on that day that Steamboat Willie went into the public domain, we went live and we aired Steamboat Willie, at least part of it, on the show to show that, hey, now that this is in the public domain, we can use Steamboat Willie and we can air it on the channel. And what did I do? I got a copyright violation on it. Why? Because they hadn't updated their software to say, oh, this is in the public domain. Again, it should have been required to have a human hand to go investigate it and say, is this really a valid violation of copyright, or did the software screw up somehow? And there was a more popular, a bigger platformed person who had made much more money on his video than I made on mine, who had the same complaint to be made. But unfortunately, he made the news, and I didn't. But I would have liked to have been able to make the news by Disney going after me. But still, as old Donnie Boy says,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. All right, let's go ahead and turn on the calls for a brief second. We're not going to stay too long. Let's keep the calls to 5 minutes. And as I've said in my updated rules for the use of the Tommy rule from my dude, I will basically say that you can only super chat $5 or $30 worth of super chat stuff to knock somebody off the phone after 5 minutes have passed. So if they're on the phone and if they haven't been on for 5 minutes, I will not boot them. But once they hit 5 minutes, if you then decide, if you had previously given $30 or a combination of $30 to boot somebody, and then whatever, at that point I'll accept the $30 boot. Anyway. Let's see. Jolie says, don't forget Steve, because you still owe us a story. Something about something happened that made you who you are today. I can't remember exactly. I don't remember either. There you go. In that one, if they want to come after me because my turtle wanted to wish Merry Christmas to his 70 YouTube friends, tell them to go for it. I won that one too. Nice, Jolie. Good job. Oh, Chad was leaving. Good night, Chad. Good to see you. If I didn't catch you out the door, appreciate you. And Chad has been a good one for actually commenting and giving algorithms. Again, yes, 562-LibDan1, 562-LibDan1, 562-542-3261. If you do want to call in and have a brief 5-minute conversation or so, we'll see what goes on with the call-ins or whatever. And if we don't get a call-in by like 9:35ish, we'll go ahead and probably close the show because I don't have anything else to talk about. I at least don't have anything else planned to talk about. I guess we can pop open Google News and see. I really didn't want to talk too much about Savannah Guthrie's mom thing because, I mean, there's not much that we know about it now either. But, I mean, just it's crazy that the whole thing with Savannah Guthrie and her mom and how, like, you know, I mean, terrible what happened, but again, they still haven't found her, which is terrible. Apparently 700 immigration officers are being yanked out of Minnesota immediately. Not enough, not quick enough. We need a sound effect for the boot. Maybe I'll have to think of that for next time. Maybe I should use the Aaron's air horn as well. Sorry. But yeah, maybe I should find a sound effect for the boot itself. Abenerex, I have publicly threatened Substack. If I get reported, I will close mine. I don't get money for what I do. Interesting. Not a boot. And there we got Big Hook calling in. Good evening, Big Hook. How are you today?
I'm hanging in there. Gee, I got on first try. Amazing. You know, I mean, what can I say?
Well, I think one of the other times you were calling in, I was having difficulty just getting the buttons clicked. So I've moved my screen format over here to put Google Voice on the top instead of the bottom. So therefore I get more stuff. Anyway, so what's up, man? How's it going?
Yeah, it's hard to say what's going on these days because, I mean, that's the thing. The fire hose of shit and whatever is going at such an accelerated pace now. I mean, you know, it's hard to keep track nowadays. And it's, I mean, you've got so much going on where Trump is now threatening to nationalize the elections and to take away power from the states and this and that and the other thing. And I mean, I don't know if it's real or if it's just a distraction from the Epstein files or any of the other stuff. It's, I mean, in the end, it's the Epstein files that are going to take him down and shame every MAGA to the bone, where they should literally drop out of society and go dig their own grave and crawl inside of it. You know, I mean, that's the way I look at it right now. I mean, these people are irredeemable. I mean, if they can justify child rape and all the rest of it, I got nothing. I'm sorry. You're no longer human.
I don't even think they're capable of the feeling of shame, though. That's the thing. I don't think they'll. I mean, other people may shame them, but I don't think they'll ever feel it. So only thing they feel is if they're somehow harmed some way, like, you know, Trump not paying them, even though they should have known that Trump was never going to follow through on any of the promises he gives, because he never does.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right? They promise you know, the Republicans promise the world, they deliver nothing. They, you know, and you would think, as that old saying goes, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And that rule just doesn't seem to apply to them, because in their case, it's shame on me 1,000 times, you know, because they fall for it every single time. They get the same guy that comes up there and gives them the same speech every single time, promises the world and delivers nothing, and takes away more and more of what little that they inherited via the Democrats' policies and whatnot. And, you know, and they still go out. And I mean, the only thing that comes out of this time is the question of how many Republicans are not going to show up to vote. You know, because they're going to go, why should I make the effort when my representatives aren't making the effort to help me in my life? You know, and that's sort of the way I see it right now. I think, is it a case possibly that the Democrats are doing lots, but the problem is that the mainstream media won't cover any of what the Democrats are doing?
I really don't know. Like, I mean, I think the media's covering some of it. I mean, I guess maybe just the fact that Donald Trump is doing so much shit that they're actually covering the shit instead of covering, you know, and not covering enough of what the Democrats are doing to try and fight the shit. But
well, I mean, I remember one guy saying, he says the reason the press loves Trump is because he constantly talks to them and he gives them clickbait on a daily basis, you know, that they can then go and put clickbait out there, you know. And as a result, it's what it is. But the problem is that they're,
It is what it
you
is.
know, all the media is getting gobbled up. I mean, you got Larry Ellison there completely stifling TikTok for all the freedoms that were supposedly being stolen by the Chinese government when, you know, I mean, it was on its way out anyway because they weren't basically paying the creators what they were supposed to get. But, you know, now it's just like it's the equivalent of X. It's a neo-Nazi platform, you know, repeating right-wing talking points now. You know, they're not paying anybody. And, I mean, outside of what, a few of the fringe cultural videos, there is really not much in terms of content on TikTok, I don't think, anymore, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, why would you give material that they can then profit or learn from, especially within AI and that sort of stuff, you know? I mean, not really sure where things go from here, but
Well,
anyway,
one might argue that things could only go up, but I think they lack imagination because things can go very well down well before they go up. So, well, that also sounds a little dirty.
Oh my.
yeah, I don't know. It's like he's trying to put us in a case we're going to get depressed because that's the thing. We look at everything and we go and we keep thinking, oh, things can't possibly get any worse, and every day they just get worse and worse. And you know, I mean, that's just it. He's hoping that if he keeps doing this, that we will eventually give up and relent and just accept our fate. And you know, that's, you know, fighting this crap 24/7 is exhausting. And that's just it. I mean, I don't know what...
It's very tiring. It's very
I don't know what else to say. I mean, life goes on. And I mean, that's just it. Because the thing is that it's all being chipped away at and taken away from us. I mean, all the good jobs will be gone before too much longer, because, you know, eventually they're going to replace all the things that required critical thinking skills as well as communication skills, and they're going to replace it with AI. And I'm like, and you tell me, what human being wants to talk to a computer? That's not
Well,
you know.
I could always pretend to sound like a computer when you can talk to me. Anyway, no, but I mean, yeah, I mean, usually when I want to talk to somebody, I end up like yelling at the Walgreens number when I'm trying to call Walgreens and talk to a pharmacist, because it's never a situation where the online situation can help me, because I could use the app and have it help me. If I'm calling to speak to a human, it's because y'all fucked up. And yeah, I'll be like, I want to speak to a pharmacist. And they'll be like, I can help you. I'm like, no, you can't. Not that they actually are listening to me, but I'm like, no, you can't. So yeah, it's very frustrating trying to have a conversation with artificial intelligence when it's not very intelligent.
But the thing about the AI thing is that it's coming to a close, because at some point it's going to be, there can be only one. Mm-hmm. And the question is who's going to come out on top? Is it going to be ChatGPT, or is it going to be one of the other, the Amazon or whatever, you know, who
Skynet
has deeper pockets or whatever, right? I mean,
they're going to come up with one and call it Skynet, and that's what it's going to. That's the one that's going to win. I guess the one place where I mildly disagree with you on the AI thing, obviously because I use it, is just the fact that a lot of times, you know, a lot of the arguments that have been made about AI have also been used against automation. How automation is going to take away jobs, automation is going to make it so less people go to work, yada yada yada, lather, rinse, repeat. You know, but we do need to have thoughts about how we can, as a society, move away from a post-scarcity and move towards a post-scarcity and a totally automated society where you don't necessarily need as much labor as you did, but still, we still need to make sure that the people aren't starving because there's no jobs left for them anymore. And that's what, I mean, that should be the lesson that the Matrix, taught. That's the lesson that the Matrix taught the corporations, is we could be like the machines in the Matrix and be okay with a certain level of existence or whatever, like they used when they basically were having the conversation, I guess, with Neo. I think it was that they're fine with a certain level of certain amount of whatchamacallit, what's the word I'm looking for? Their existence can be reduced or whatever and there are certain amounts that they'll find acceptable, I guess. But that being said,
Yeah.
I think that, my concern is more making sure that we have rules in society set up so that the creation of mass automation doesn't force people into the into the poorhouse or into death of starvation because they can no longer afford anything. But
yeah, but that's the thing. I mean, at what point do the billionaires basically own everything, and then the rest of us are just we're no longer their customers? Because that's the thing, right? I mean, if all the jobs are already gone, then who is all this AI and automation for? Who does it serve?
Right.
And I mean, that's why I question it, because it's like, who does it serve then? If you're going to steal everybody's job, who is your customer? What is the point of it? Right? Oh, great, I got a machine that can make all this stuff, but there's nobody with any means to buy it.
Well, just look at Star Trek. What do they do in Star Trek? That's the funny thing, is because you have conservatives. When was Star Trek ever woke? Well, Star Trek's always been woke. Star Trek has always had this idea that people, no longer have needs because, they have replicators. You don't need a chef potentially because you can use a replicator, and there you go. Boom, here's your food. Boom, here's your alcohol. Boom, here's whatever it is that you need to have. It can be replicated automatically. So it's post-scarcity, so you don't need to worry about it. And then but conservatives are, that's cool because you shoot phasers and you can transport, but never think of the actual real world, what's going on underneath, and then they realize that they're wrong and they can never admit it. So,
but I mean, we do stupid things all the time. I mean, that's just it. I mean, they're going and saying, "Oh yeah, well we let's not go away from fossil fuels. Let's get rid of solar and wind." And, I mean, these are renewable resources that, I mean, it's just a matter of making the machinery that's possible for creating it, more cost effective, as well as less environmentally damaging, as well as having replacement parts and being able to maintain this stuff and whatnot. And I mean, then you've got a continuous source of power, I mean, that's the sort of stuff that's out there. I mean, we have the means, and we have the brain power. I mean, the question is how do we, somebody wants to profit from it all. That's the problem, as opposed to let's work collectively as a group or even as a country and say, this is the solution. I mean, because if you look at the Scandinavian countries, that's what they've gone to. They say, yes, we have our fossil fuel stuff, the offshore oil drilling and stuff, but that's for stuff that is needed,
Mm-hmm.
And I mean that, and at some point that will become irrelevant. But what have they been doing in the meantime? They're putting out the wind farms out there in the ocean. They're putting the stuff out there. I mean, they say they can run their countries almost to the point of 70% off the electricity that's generated from that, and then along with solar, as well as, I mean, if you go, where is it? Is it Iceland that has the geothermal stuff that's there, where they can produce power via that, a natural phenomenon that is self-sustaining and uses the Earth's magma to heat water and produce steam, and as a result, and what's the only byproduct of it? It's steam, which is basically water.
Yep.
You collect it and you pump it back down there, and the cycle continues. I mean, it's not a hard thing to do. I mean, but I don't know. I look at things and I think to myself, the solutions are out there. It's just a question of who thinks that they can profit by not implementing the solutions. And, and that's just it. I mean, right? Like, it's the tyranny of the minority, and the minority ends up being the rich. And that's very depressing for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you saw the politics girl yesterday. She had an interesting guest. It was a Canadian teacher there, and she sort of broke it down. She said the problem is that the government, along with the Constitution, has so many holes and flaws in it that both sides like the institution, but only because of the power and the profits that it enables them to reap from it.
Right.
And the thing is that it needs to be completely reformed. It has to be, the laws have to be rewritten. The Constitution needs to be rewritten. It's like I said before, you guys are living off of ideals that were created in the 1700s. And, you're living in 2026 now, and you're still trying to follow and think that stuff is applicable. I mean, yes, some of it is applicable, but a lot of it just isn't. And this interpretation of, words don't mean words bullshit that the conservatives do all the time is infuriating. Anyway, I went on well past 5 minutes.
That's fine.
I don't know if you got anybody else waiting to.
I don't think so. I'm probably ending the show soon anyway. So, but anyway, do you have any other final thoughts before we head off? We'll be here tomorrow too, anyway.
I'm keeping my head up, my life is returning back to normal, where I'm going to work and stuff and whatnot. Good. So I mean, I'm getting I'm not stuck at home staring at a wall, or in this case, my computer or my smartphone, doom scrolling YouTube all day. But so that's probably a good thing. But everybody has to keep their head up, and everybody has to do little bits. I mean, whether it be, refuse ICE any of the comforts. I mean, tell Enterprise Rental Car that the 1,000 vehicles that they're going to give to ICE is unacceptable. Make sure that they're not welcome in any restaurants whatsoever. Have your phone ready and able and to record when all the time, and don't let anything go undocumented, and if you can, go and take the course and figure out how to document ICE safely, and don't accept their bullshit lies and whatnot, and I don't know what else to say. You guys have to fight this, and it's going to be an ongoing battle. I mean, if you fight it, you can win, but if you give up, you think things are bad now? They're going to get a lot worse. I mean...
Well, you had Sisters of Social Services end leasing contract with Enterprise over their ICE connection. The Sisters of Social Service have ended their lease of cars from Enterprise over the allegations that companies supplying vehicles to Customs and Border Patrol. The Congregation Superior Senior Mary Beth Larkin said that after ICE raids began in Los Angeles, the sisters, who were based in LA, began hearing officers conducting the large-scale immigration sweeps or using vehicles rented from Enterprise, and they basically said, nope, F you, Enterprise. So good for them. I guess other people with religious background are actually doing the right thing with their religious faith and beliefs or whatever. So...
Yeah, and I mean, you guys now, he's created the surveillance state. And guess what? The one thing that all these people that have created the surveillance state have in common?
They used to rail against surveillance states?
No, they're all in the fucking Epstein files.
Oh, that too. Well, both are true, I think. I think, because hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite, typically the people who would shout, Second Amendment, once Trump said you shouldn't carry a gun, well, he shouldn't be carrying a gun, that's sort of, dumb shittery. But yeah, also all in the Epstein files. And, so again, everyone in the Epstein files who committed crimes with children should be buried under the day in prison. What was the one thing that said, like, the littlest one was very, like,
naughty,
naughty or whatever? I was just like, I wanted to vomit. I really wanted to vomit when I read that. That's one of the things one of the things preventing me, as someone who has been abused previously, is just the lack of desire to actually want to read that shit. Is like, ugh. I understand that eventually I'll have to read some of it, but because we have to keep informed, but still it's rough sometimes reading that bullshit. So
yeah, the finger tightness test of the people and whatnot. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty sick thing. I mean, I thought I could have dark dreams, but man, these guys entertain the worst. It's literally like, what was that old saying? The biggest trick that the devil ever played was convincing people that he didn't exist.
Something like that. I've heard many people use that, but yeah.
These people are just plain evil. There's no two ways about it, and they've got more money than God at this point, and they don't need anything else, and they all do the same thing. The money isn't what they're after now. It's about controlling everything and everybody, and playing into their darkest fantasies,
right?
With no accountability, and that's what's scary.
Very.
Anyway,
Again,
I'll let it go at that.
All right, man. Well, you have a good one, and we'll be back live tomorrow if you want to call back in then. So you have a great rest of your night, and I'm glad you're feeling better and able to get back to work.
Thanks. Same for you, Dan. Thanks. Bye.
Right, have a good one. Bye. All right, that was Big Hook, everybody, and we are going to head at this point shut down the phones and end the show for today. Didn't seem like there was much of a desire to have other people call in. If you do want to call in, you can call in tomorrow at 8 p.m. or later when we start the show. Again, Monday, Wednesday, Thursdays at liberaldanradio.com, twitch.liberaldanradio.com. Either way gets you to the show. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Thank you, Big Hook, for calling in. Thank you for all the algorithmic support that y'all have been giving in the past weeks as we've been sharing lots and lots and lots more videos. Until tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central, thank you all very much. Have a good one. Peace.
Trump piled debt, trillions tall. Promised Mexico would fund that wall. Praised dictators, said they're strong. Had Joe done it, they'd say he's wrong. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, whole numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd scream foul play. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Go through crises, storms, and more. Called soldiers losers who died in war. Hired his kids to run D.C. If it was Hunter, they'd scream treachery. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, full numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, Fox News would say I made. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Love Kim Jong-un, he wrote love letters that take the guns first, lose those rights forever. Signed you spending bills with glee. Had Joe done that, it'd be tyranny. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, full numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they child up today. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Kept secret files, countless untold. Said Putin's word was good as gold. Invited the Taliban to come to U.S. soil. If Joe had done that, they'd all recoil. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, full numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd want him to pay. But Trump did it, so it must be okay. Double standards loud and clear. for Trump, but not for peers. What they call treason, if Joe's the name, is patriotism when Donald's to blame. Had Biden done it, MAGA would flip. Had Biden done it, more numbers would slip. Had Biden done it, they'd shout no way. But Trump did it, so it must be okay.
Obama and Bush's pictures got hidden, obscuring the past, history rewritten, hung in a hallway where no tour can see, confirming his unending fragility. If Trump can't see it, you must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, object permanent, a milestone missed. If Trump can't see it, he must not exist. The testing was the line that he said. Hundreds of thousands needlessly dead. Now HHS is run by brainworm quack, hiding the truth behind his back. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list, an administration run by narcissists. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Of documents stacked floor to the wall, top secret folders in a bathroom stall. Charges were pressed, but the case was dropped. A corrupt judicial system he can co-opt. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. He'll swear it's fake news, a liberal twist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist. Encampments downtown, tents lining the street. Invisible people that power won't need. Hide them away so the cameras can't find the proof of a system that's cold and unkind. Of chaos in secret and NDA sign, an illegal bribe, Michael Cohen fine. Trump got fined too over his gag order, but she didn't gag, cause he was much shorter. It must not exist. That also includes the Epstein list. We can't let him win, we must resist. If Trump can't see it, it must not exist.
They wrote it in the laws, ink still bleeds. Treating women like soil, just planting seeds. She's gone, brain dead, not even awake. But the state's got a claim, gonna plant its stake. Say it's God's will, say it's life they protect. But they ain't the ones feeling pain or neglect. From Texas to Georgia, they set the trap. Rights roll back while they smile and clap. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. This ain't pro-life, it's control and shame. They don't care if she's gone, just playing a game. Keep her hooked to machines, cold and still. Just a vessel to them, not a human with will. No consent, no voice, no chance to resist. Just laws in place, written with a clenched fist. Hospitals scared, judges playing God. Bodies ain't temples, just stay on pods. Gilead's here, this is true. Hey MAGA fools, they'll come for you too. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator.
dance in the dark, they don't care who it kills. Sacking courts while they strip out all of your wills. But we'll fight back, march loud, burn bright, cause this ain't the end, it's the start of the fight. Kill the ants here, ain't no grace, and those leopards are coming to eat your face. So I'm gonna jet, see you later. I'm not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator. Not gonna be a baby incubator.
The creative director at WGSO had a little something he thought you should know. When Dan picked on his bits, Steve got real gruff. So Steve called Dan a flake, called him liberal dandruff. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan, better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest. Steve's about to find out his mistake. In this feud, Dan's Kendrick, Steve is Drake. Dan might not be the world's best singer, but he's got more talent in his little finger. Steve thinks that his lines are really clever, but when do people ever like him? Never. Liberal Dan's got better lyrics, this is true. Listen and you'll feel like I do. Liberal Dan, his show is great. Liberal Dan, he goes live at 8. Liberal Dan radio, it's the best, cause Liberal Dan's head and shoulders above the rest.